Continue. Should be able to see the PDF here. Okay, let me put on my, you are able to hear me. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm missing 3 students. Okay. Let me check. So Olivia, Jill, Julia. Yes. Okay, Jaden. Missing Haley here. Okay, I'm just marking who's missing, and I'll ask Nan to help me direct them over here. Haley, Krista, Myanmar. Okay, got it. All right, we'll start our review momentarily. Able to hear me? Okay. Do you need me to put on my speakerphone or? Okay, good. It's not an ideal setup here. I'm in a corner. Okay. So today we'll review according to the sequence listed on Canvas, and next week we can do the other way around. So you don't always have to wait until the last minute for the student on the kind of at the end of the list. So today we'll start with Olivia. I believe the drawing here is yours.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me move my computer a little closer so you can hear me better.
I can hear you great, actually.
Okay. You?
Wait, now I can't.
Now you can't?
Oh, okay, you're good.
Okay. So we have upper side, lower side. Okay, I see that your swell is in the right location. You have many questions here, which is great. Cross is too big. Some of them are kind of representation. Some of them are grading. I'm trying to locate which ones are grading. How do I measure the contours? Is my swell center line going to allow for the swells to contours to fit? You probably need to rough it in to see whether or not you're able to fit all the contours between your center line and your building boundaries. How do you check? Well, we can show you in a minute. Do I need to mark the 15-foot mark? Yes, you do need to mark them. Right now, I see you do have 2 spots there, but move them over to be on the pavement. How do I calculate walkway? That is for next time. What do I do with this porch? Okay, are my spot? Okay. Yeah, your text should always be parallel to the bottom of page. So okay. I'll see if I can actually draw on this. Wow, this is not good because it takes me a good amount of time to, but then it doesn't let me. Oh, okay.
Just to clarify, Wuhong, you're saying something on Zoom is not good, not like there's an immediate emergency with my project, right?
No. No,
I'm just making sure.
My touch point pen is not working.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Okay, I know this is because the display is probably not the right. Let me try one thing and see if it works better. Oh, still not accurate. What did Stuart do last time to make this work? Okay. I guess I'll stay with the mouse today then. This is very unpredictable. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, let's not get thrown away by that. Okay, so how do I measure the contours on the driveway? Now you have your spots of 129.94 and 26 at the end of the driveway. And you have actually two different slopes along annotate along this line and another slope along this line. So
Yes.
if we separate it, if we calculate, okay, try to use the line, that's the one side of the driveway. This is the other side of the driveway. What we do know is we know this spot, which is your garage FFE. So right now we do need a garage FFE so that we know if you have 134.35, that's your garage FFE.
It is. I forgot to mark that.
Yeah. So both of these are 134. Here is the garage. And this is the end of the driveway. This line is 1.94. If I just calculate this line, right? If I have a 5% slope, now I need to know how far away apart should my 134 be. Basically, I need to calculate, let me put this thinner. That's a 5% slope. And how far away do I, if you want to do 15%, I don't know, 5% for 15 foot away from the garage, you can calculate, okay, that spot is 133.6. Yeah, I wish I can actually draw. So
is it similar to what you do with swales, like where you find the whole
Yes.
contour? Okay.
yeah, exactly. So
Cool.
now we know this 15 feet away is 133.6. Then we find out where 134 is. And the H is 0.45, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can actually. It works. It's just very far. It's not accurate at all. Oh my gosh. That's 15 feet away for 5%. So it's 15. Yeah, I'm sorry. The ability to draw on the screen is, so 0.75, you need to deduct 134.45 minus 0.75. So,
And just to clarify, the FFE is 134.35. Is that what you're referring to?
oh, right. Yeah, my bad.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, this is going to be painful today. So now we need to minus this 7.5. Yes, and then we get 134.5. Doesn't really actually let me correct my mistake. See? 0.75. Yes, you're right. That's 130.60. And if we want to get to where 134 is, you would use the 0.35 divided by 5%. So it's 7 feet away. So you measure 7 feet away, then you get your 134. Does that make sense?
It does. And then so on, I just do like the 1 over the slope as well.
Right. But you have to remember that this is not the same as that. Right? This one is steeper. So it's closer on this.
Mhm.
And that one is flatter. So you would see something like this going on if you have 3 tick marks.
Perfect.
Now, if you have 130, so the first one would be 130, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I'm still missing one line. So, but you get the idea that you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, if I draw it like this, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
That makes sense. So when I was doing the different calculations to find the max, of course, I did find that there are 2 different slopes. One, because the spot elevations are different at the end of the driveway, just from where they fall on the contours. But then I also noticed that each line on the sides of the driveways were like the slightest bit different lengths. Is that something that's real that you guys did on purpose, or something to do with just like, it was like 0.04 difference?
Yes, it's probably because the driveway is a little curved, not the driveway, the road. The road is a little curved. So you would have a little bit of difference, but always measuring it's great. So that would make sure that you have the accurate, but your contour signature should be like this.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have measured 9.5% max. That's good. That is on the side, right?
That's on the side that's after the
15
15-foot difference.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I see what you mean. Yep.
That's good. All right. So we solved how do we calculate the contours on the driveway here. Now, try to put this on the garage so that we don't forget.
Yes, thank you.
And this is good where your house is a foot above your garage, which means this could be the same. The porch could be 134.45. Then this is important because you don't want you want this to be the same. Now this whole line would be at the same elevation of 134.35, which is good, right? Otherwise, you would have some differences at the corner, which means suddenly you have a drop or something. So having your garage half foot below your house is a good thing, which means your patio, the ground, which I marked with the pink line here, the ground should all be at the same elevation, 134.35. Your porch could be at the same elevation, or it could be at the 134.85. It just means that I have one step here. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yes. Oh, let's I still see it just
I know, I saw it again, but I wasn't gonna say it.
It got in my head. All right. Yeah, now we got a good relationship. I think the next big question is the swale. So if you have found 134, basically you want to mark it here. Now try to do 7 feet away, which is about half there. So that's your 134, right? And now you want to try to wrap it around. So that's kind of the same offset to get to your 134. And you don't have a 134. Oh, okay. So you actually have a closed contour of 134 wrapping around here. And then your next one is 133.85. You want to make sure the next contour is at least 4 feet away, which actually should be okay. Now, where is 133? So 133 originally is this line. I need to go back to that line. Ah, okay. So this might make it a little different to connect back to the original 133. Can you see I'm actually starting to change the direction of the center line by trying to connect back to 133?
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. We just want to have a try, right? And then see how things go and then start adjusting. It's really not a great way to draw it. Again, 4. So I'm trying to go back here. Okay, so erase here. Okay, so that's your 133, and we keep going and try to keep so your if your LPS, if this is actually the 132, your LPS is actually somewhere here. Now we are trying to do 132 and 132, you imagine it'll be here. And yes, see, I need to go back there. So now it turns out, in fact, my center line is probably going to need to go that way to try to make it, okay, halfway between, not halfway, dividing this curve roughly in half, which is not a big issue. It just means, oh, my LPS might just be here if I can go back to grade actually like that. If I can actually connect to 131 somewhere in here. Does that make sense?
Sort of. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I can just hear myself echoing, so I wanted to make sure. I'm not fully understanding. So I see that I need to move my center line outward, which shouldn't be a problem slope-wise, I don't think. But I'm having a hard time understanding what you mean with the connecting 131 back to get to the natural grade again.
If I don't change this portion, my LPS can be this in this area. Yeah, and then I can actually connect it back close to the original contour like that. Give me 1 second. Let me just delete that one. Okay, go ahead. What? Oh, because we can direct water away on the to the neighbors, so you don't necessarily have to follow that rule. That's a good start point. That will make sure that you direct the water away from your corner. But because now our center lines kind of sway to the side, yeah, that kind of automatically enabled water to be directed away from the corner, so that becomes less of a question. Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah, that's a start.
What was the question?
So Jalen's question was, what about the rule of setting LPS 1 contour below the corner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because in this case, we kind of changed the direction of the center line, meaning that we're automatically directing water away from the corner regardless of the LPS elevation. So that's not a hard rule, but that was a good place to start our last exercise.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was nervous about putting my swale center line out like this, but because of the existing contours and how they kind of work to my advantage, I thought that it would be okay to put them out like this. And that is true. Yeah,
that's true.
Okay.
In fact, once you actually moved your LPS up, you will end up with a shallower, more gentler slope because your LPS now is higher, meaning that your vertical difference it's smaller, but the length doesn't get substantially smaller, right? So your length is comparable, but your vertical differences are smaller. So that means it's actually going to be gentler, the center line slope. But of course, you'll need to recalculate them to make sure that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't see an issue for things to get too tight where you can't fit your contours. It seems that you should be able to, if we tighten this up, right? This one will then go wherever the calculation is, like this, then go somewhere like this. And we still need to find where 190, this is 90, so that's about 130 connecting somewhere like this. So seems like you should be able to connect. It's getting tight, but it won't be too tight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry, I was just going to ask a quick question. Do you see any predictions of things that I'm going to struggle with in the future that you could kind of give me a heads up on so that I unprepared. So you're saying, like, for example, that bottom corner is going to get a little tight, but you think it should be okay to manage?
Yeah, because based on this being 7 feet, we're actually staying pretty far away. This only used to be 4. So I don't see a slope issue here. The only thing here, the corner being 134.35, you do want to make sure instead of this slope being 2%, or this corner actually, if you want, if we calculate the slope, we actually calculate the perpendicular to the next contour. So that corner should be okay. But this is the corner that's hard to drain. So we want to make sure that is 2%. Does that make sense? Yeah, so if this is to be 2%, if we want to, yeah, let's measure it.
Okay. Because I know that the corner that I have the 2% based off of, the center line was offset by 20 feet. That looks like it's probably closer to 30 or 40 from the center line.
So if I measure this to the HPS, that's about 30 feet. So if it's 30 feet, you want to make sure it's 0.6. So 35 and 20, it's just a tiny bit higher than what we want. So yes, if you use 134.35, deduct that by 0.6, so then you get 7.5. So if you lower the HPS, you should be able to get above 2% or equal to 2%. That's the only thing that I think that will go out of range. And of course, you need to keep modifying the contours over on this side, right? Well, 133 being here, 134 might be able to stay there. Yeah, that might be okay. Yeah, these shouldn't. Yeah, these should be able to stay where they are.
So for that slope problem that you're talking about with that corner that kind of connects to the garage and the house, you're saying that slope is possibly not in the correct range?
Yes, that's possibly lower than 2%.
Okay, and you think that I should lower the house FFP?
Yeah, lower the HPS. Lower the HPS. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. If once you lower the HPS, LPS needs to change as well. Once your LPS changed to this, the one that I marked, you shouldn't be, I think you should still be able to go be above 2%. So that's not a big issue. Yes. Okay. All right, that's what I have. About your spot elevation crosses, you should move them away from the corner, make it very clear, not overlapping with any lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have a really hard time understanding where to put these spot elevations.
Okay, let's zoom in. Let me clear all my drawings here. Let me zoom in and show you how we can lose annotation here. Yeah, this is in fact slowing me down very badly. I should next time actually bring my iPad. The screen turned out not to be a really great way of doing these. Okay. House corner. If I were to put commenting, where's the comment here? I would put it right here. Just like that. And I think, in fact, if I zoom back out, that's probably the right size. You can even make it larger, but the location, this location is a very good location. What about, hey, yeah. But I can't connect to my Bluetooth. Well, yeah, that might work. Yeah. Let's see. Bluetooth. Well, I believe, Olivia, I have answered all your questions. Anything I missed?
I don't think so. You said that calculating the walkway is something that's going to be for the next interim, right?
Right.
Okay, and so that's kind of more of an afterthought. So if I get everything with the HPS and the LPS figured out on the centerline swale, I should be good to go with figuring out the walkway. Like the walkway won't send me off into a bad situation, right?
So the thing is that once we have the driveway and the patio spot elevations confirmed, then it makes sense to calculate the walkway. Because the accuracy or the correctness of that calculation is based on doing the previous steps correctly. So it's not time yet to calculate your walkway. If you make sure that the first 15 feet away from the building is below 5%, it's very unlikely your walkway will go above that slope.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. I think that I've made some progress.
All right, let me take 2 minutes to try to set it up on an iPad because the screen is making me crazy. Have to set up this iPad. Okay, it's connected. So how can I this part, that's how I usually mirror something? Yeah. How can I mirror this to yours? Mirror. Oh yeah. Mirror. To be very slow. Okay, let me try to zoom in to Geo's. Having difficulty knowing which screen to mirror. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes. That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, if you can figure out one from there, that'd be great. But not, I'll just continue. I think this is bearable, but it's offset. It doesn't. There's no precision here. See. So it has to do with. I can still draw. Oh, it's better actually on this one. Okay, I'm gonna try. And if it doesn't work, then I'll just use my mouse. All right. Again, the folks on the Zoom, thank you for your patience. So Gio, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Please work with your TAs. They're actually wonderful to solve your plotting issue. Okay. So I'm not actually able to see the number because of that, the plotting issue. So if you can let me know some of the key spots here, that'd be great. I can see your garage or house FFE. I can see your house FFE is 133. Let me try to mark it up. So this is 133. And then the house, I will actually need to know a few numbers in order to see if, well, one thing is that I know this is definitely too close to your building. That
Okay.
might be fine.
Okay.
Your HPS would need to be, yes, this is location is okay. And 133. What is this? Okay, that's about 130. This is about 129.5. What's the length here? What's the length of the driveway here?
I have 50,
This distance,
like around 50 feet.
around 50 feet.
Mhm.
So, and then what's your garage FFE?
Let me check. I have it up
Yeah.
right here. 133. No, wait, 132.50.
Okay, 132.50. So we'll need to know if the lower side, for instance, starting from the 129.5, so that's 3 feet up. Okay, let me do some quick calculation. 35 should be okay. 35 multiplied by 10% is 3.5. Well, I think you are actually pretty flat. Yeah, you're pretty flat on your driveway there.
Mhm.
So the driveway is okay. The central line here, it's too close to a building. And what's your HPS?
Let me check on my PDF. 131.50.
131.50. Okay. There is some issue, I think. If it's 131.50, if I wrap something in, your first contour is actually 130. So that be, yeah, we don't have enough space there, 132.50. All right, so that corner, if it's 132.5, you would have a 132 around your building. Okay, let me try to do something like that. You have a 132 around your building, like something like that.
Mhm.
And then you would have a 131. Where is a 131? Okay, 131 is over here. No, that's not gonna work. Okay, so this is too low.
Okay.
It's too low, meaning my first contour would need to come from here to connect. Can you see how I am actually stacking so many contours? Kind of 131 is over here. Okay, so I'm stacking a lot of contours here. And that's making the back very steep. And I doubt that you will have any space to drag this 130 up to form a swell. Does that make sense? Yeah, I know
Yeah, I
my
know what you're
mouse
saying.
is not making it very clear, but if you have 131.50, the first swell contour is 131, but your 131 is over here. It's over here. And this is where you start to connect your swell. And you have only if this one, and you don't have any other contour to help you shape your swell. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, you can't drag 130 from your driveway to form that swell with an LPS somewhere here. So this is too low. You can elevate it by 1 or 2 foot and see if that works better.
All right.
But yeah, but after this, I actually really recommend that you go to this cat breakout room, talk to Nan, and get the plotting issue fixed. Okay.
Understood.
Okay. Anything else that you want me to comment on?
Yeah, so for the points by the sidewalk, they just have to be slightly below the elevation of the sidewalk because there's a gutter there, correct?
So for the sidewalk here, the connection point there. What you,
It should be slightly below the sidewalk because the point is that there's a gutter at the on the sides.
there is a gutter here, there is a curb along, but the curb is it's broken by your
Mhm.
driveway. So those pink lines are the curbs. So the driveway, at the end of the driveway, the elevation should be calculated by extending that line, and that's your driveway and elevation. And for this side, you should extend this line, and this one is where you start calculating, which is about midway. Okay, about midway between 129 and 130. And that one is slightly above 130. Does that make
Okay.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah. I
Those
understand.
are your, yeah, those are your base elevations for the driveway. But you can kind of see from my review with your work and the review with Olivia's work, I'm asking you a few key elevations to be able to evaluate whether things are going to be, working out. And based on the HPS, the garage FFP, I think you should start with a different set of elevations and try again.
All right.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
So next one we have Julia. Hey, Julia. Hey, try to do this. Yeah. Huh? I'm frustrated. All right, it's my HPS of swell in an appropriate location. It's a little far. We can drag it over so that, well, we don't have to. We don't have to, but no, I can see pros and cons of doing that. For instance, if I want this area to be pretty flat where kids can play, I want to make it flatter, right? So the swell needs to stay away from where I want to have some usable space. But if I say I don't want my upper hillside to be too steep, then I can pull the swell closer to my building. Then the 134, for instance, don't need to kind of, that's very thin. Then my 134 don't need to be changed. You still don't need to change it here. It seems like your 133.5, it's about 2 feet away from 134, which means it's 25%. It doesn't seem like it's violating the slope yet, but that is approaching 25. Yes, yeah, that is approaching 25% there. So I don't see an immediate problem of putting the LPS or HPS over there. Make sure you mark it as HPS later on. Yeah, so that's that. Your, okay, driveway 8.1 and 9.2 seems like they should be working. And 130.5, 3.81. Okay, so none of the slope is violating anything, which is good. So the next step is actually for you to come up with tick marks and then rough the contours in and see if any place get tight, right? If we do it roughly. So 130.50, so 145, okay. I'm actually going to divide it into 5 parts. That's a bad way. So I know this is about 3. Yes, that's about 3. And this one we divide into 6 parts. 3. Now I know this is about 3. 2 and 1. Okay. Now 133 can come over here. Oh, you have another 4. Yes, you have a 1 and 4. Yes, yes, you have a 4. And then you have a 3. And coming up here and go back there. I don't see an issue with that at all. You should be okay. Yeah, this LPS questionable. You still need to put it down because I don't think you want. I think you still need to move things. Yes, yes, yeah. I think you should still have a 132 over here. So 2 is going over like that. And then 1 should be connecting somewhere like this. Yeah, this is kind of approaching. Well, you might need to change the direction a tiny little bit, but seems to be the right direction. Because you want to try to know your V, right? You want your center line to be roughly in the middle of the V. If I end up doing this and then your center line was like this, then you want to try to sway your center line so that yes, yeah. Otherwise, I think it should work out except to the LPS. I'm pretty sure it could not be above 132 there. All right, spot elevations should be, yeah, again, parallel to your bottom, the bottom of the page. Text seems to be a good size at this point. And yes, you would have 134. Does that mean the house and the garage? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Closer to the house, because it would be taken away from the measurement of the house as well as the measurement of the garage. Is that what I said?
Yes, I know what you're trying to ask. You would want to check, what's the walkway? What's the walkway? I can't remember if it's for 4% or 5%. Okay, if we don't, then you could make the 15 feet away from both, just the front side, not just the side. Okay, annotate. This whole, not good. Yeah, let's use this. This side, make it 5%. Actually, that makes your life pretty easy. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, not really, because you have a porch. You have front porch. Right. The porch. No, you have 135.50, which is great. Right. We talked about how the ground here, the entire ground here is 135. Yeah. So from this line over 15 feet, for it to be 5% would at least this area. That makes sense. That makes your walkway 5%. That makes your walkway easy to grade. You don't want your walkway to exceed, actually, I remember it for being actually 4%. So grade this the rectangle area that I just outlined as 5%. Then you can start tightening up around the corner. That will help you save some space. Yeah, but you want to make sure that the walkway area, this area, is also pretty flat. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. There is a slope range for walkway as well in the table that we gave you. There is a master table of optimum ranges of slope, right? We pointed out on that table, swell needs to be 2 to 10, right? Walkway is one of that item. So you can imagine you don't want walkway to be steep either. So even if it's not given to you, I still have to go back and check the assignment description. Even if it's not given to you in the statement, the walkway needs to be pretty flat for the function of the house. So yeah, my recommendation is to grade that area that I just outlined 5%. Yeah, it would be good. Okay. Yeah, so you could change the LPS on the upper side and then start the next steps. Okay. All right, good. So keep going. I think this one belongs to Xuanjun. If I pronounced your name wrong, please let me know.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, the relationship between driveway to contours. Yes, I think right now the tick marks along the edge of the driveways are still off, but I understand this is a draft, right? So don't worry about that yet. Is there a need to change the driveway? I think you're missing some contours. Yes, you're missing the not missing, it's not connected right. The 130 is not connected right. Okay, let's take a closer look. So you have the garage as 132.50, and what's that calculation again? What's the all right. I want to see. Not on there, but here. So with me trying to zoom in, you probably sensed your spot elevations are a little too small. So enlarge your spot elevation sizes. Now, not spot elevation, slope arrow, sorry, slope arrow. So this is 3 point something, right? About 4%. This slope arrow. That one?
Yeah, because previously I have no idea that how to do in the driveway, so I just married as a main point. Yeah, and
Okay.
now I know it's not right.
Yeah, it's probably so let's see, we have about 3 feet of drop, and if it's 50, then is about 6%. Yes, I think there's some calculation that's off. Now what you would do is you would measure the length of here. That's your maximum slope from 132.5 to your 129.40. Okay, so that's your slope, and that's your maximum slope on the driveway. And if that exceeds 5%, then you do need to mark where the 5% is, 15 feet is, and design for this portion to be 5%, and then recalculate the rest of the driveway. Based on what I talked with Olivia, do you kind of get how to calculate these two lines? So you would calculate them separately. Right, these two lines, you will calculate them separately based on different elevations, of here and there, and you find out where 130 is along this line, which would not be here. Okay, so previously, because we have a curb, right? Before the house was built, there's a curb, so that's why your 130 goes like this. Now, because we are breaking the curb and put in the driveway, there's no curb anymore, meaning that your 130 needs to start connecting from this point. Okay, and now you need to find out where 130 is along that line, finding the tick marks on this line, and then that's 130, yes. You connect with whatever proposed contour is for the other side. Wrong, sorry. That point, I'm sorry, take that back. Calculate 130 along that line, and you connect from where this is. Okay, where that contour 130 hits this side. So that's where your 130 is. Does that make sense?
So that means we break the curb and
Yes.
directly connect the like contours to the
Right. Now,
Okay.
and then you can keep going. And here you're looking for where 131 is, and then where 132 is. And then here, the same thing, looking for where 131 and 132 is, and then connect like that. So that's what your driveway contours would look like. Okay?
Yeah, so that means like those contours will go through this in the driveway. Right.
Yes, they will.
Yeah, okay, understand.
Okay, so that's the driveway part. Let's take a look at other things. Oh, your HPS is actually high, right? So based on that, you may want to change your garage FFE because this cannot be higher than that. The relationship is the other way. That needs to drain to your swale. So your corner needs to be higher than that. So if you want to keep your HPS, you have to uplift, kind of elevate your corner of the garage and your house and recalculate the driveway. If you feel that your swell actually works and you don't want to change that first. Does that make sense? If you feel that your swell concept works, you want to change the garage first, you can change the corners and FFEs and recalculate the driveway. But if you feel that I can go from the 132.50 and lower my HPS and recalculate my swell, you can also try that, but based on my experience, you don't want to further lower down your HPS because it's already pretty low. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So elevate your garage and recalculate your driveway would be a good way to go. And then I would say these different distances are too big. If you want to keep this area not too tight, you want to tighten this part, this part off. So it would look like something like this. And then the next contour would be like that. Does that make sense? So then, when I get to this point, further tighten up, this can go back here. And then this contour will need to be changed just a tiny little bit, and all the others won't need to change. This 128 would not need to change if we tighten it up. Does that make sense?
Yes, okay.
Yeah. All right, so that's that. 130. Oh, okay. So this is not 130.50. Based on the location, it should be 131.50. And for this part, let's see, it's being blocked. So I'm just going to move. Okay, that one is between 30 and 31. Yeah, this one is, yes, 130.50, and that one is 131.50. If that's the case, your swell would actually be flatter. Can you see that become a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do need to recalculate and make sure it doesn't drop below 2.75. If that's the case, you have to kind of further raise HPS here, further raise the corner elevations here. So change this to 131.50, recalculate it, and see if it's still above 2. If not, then you have to elevate HPS and then elevate the garage and then recalculate these. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think you get the concept. Is basically still trying to make sure everything agree with each other. And they actually systematically change if you change one thing. Okay. Let me clear this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, give it another try. And if we have more time, we can always come back to it. Okay. Let's move forward. I have Tagan, sorry. Again, if I mispronounced your name, let me know.
Yeah, I'm here. It's Tegan.
Tagan, okay. Okay. I spaced my swale. So the drawing, right now it's hard for me to measure because I don't know the scale, but that's okay.
Yeah, sorry. I just realized after looking at everyone else's that I forgot to reorient it back into world view after I did.
Well, it's a draft. It's okay. As long as we can read the key dimensions and the slopes, we should be able to critique it, right? Oh, I do need to know. Okay, that's okay. I can mark it here. So this is 0, and that's 1, and oh, that's 1, and that is 2. This is 3. So right now we have a 5% on the other side. That's good. And garage. So the first thing, your garage FFE should be 133 because you can't have one step in front of your garage. The car would not be able to make that jump. So the garage needs to be 133. And then again, your HPS could not be higher than your corner, right? We still need to maintain the relationship of, you know, this draining to this, the swale. And it's very hard for water to turn corners. So it's likely your center line will be like that, and then your HPS would be in that location. Given that we are above 2% here, so we could lower this based on your 133 and 2%. So not sure how far this is. If it's 30 or 40 feet, this is 132 point something. And then your next contour will be 2 and 1. Okay, 2 and 1.
Okay.
And then your HPS, your LPS on this side, you don't have to direct water kind of turn it all the way to this direction. You could end the swell somewhere here, like the others did. Okay, your LPS could be in this location. So basically means water keeps going and just drains away from the property in that way. It's hard for me to evaluate whether or not your contours would actually fit in the space. It's 130 and 32. You likely you have enough space between your center line and your building. 33, 2, 1. Yeah, doesn't seem like you'll run into a big space problem. If things get tight, it might be this area. Okay, but once, well, unless until you get to rough those in, I won't be able to directly evaluate that yet. Okay, so I spaced my swells out wrong, but I don't know what I did wrong.
I think I figured it out based on what you said so far. Yeah, I calculated the tick marks wrong, I think, because where the 2 line is like 132, and then the second tick mark is like also 132. So like that didn't make sense. But I don't know how I ended up doing that.
The tick marks you calculated is actually correct on the first part, except your HPS is too high, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and almost 5. So that one looks to me it's correct. And here you have 129.5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I don't think you calculated it wrong at all. It's correct. It's because the relationship here was wrong. So you weren't able to rough the contours in because you were 1 contour off, right? Actually 2. The next contour should be 1. If we keep the corner at 133, that is 132. Then the next contour is actually 132. And here you have 134. You were trying to fit 2 more contours than necessary in. I think that's why things start to get in conflict. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then I was also confused about the LPS on like the top part because like I thought that it had to be 1 contour below, but I guess it doesn't because you addressed that earlier.
Yes. Yeah. The LPS for this exercise could be in this area, roughly in this area, and this one could be roughly in this area. You don't want the LPS to be as low as that because you don't want to disturb that tree, right? You want everything to finish being disturbed before you get to that tree. So your LPS would need to be in this area instead. And that actually qualifies for one contour below this corner. And this one is mainly because your swell is already, the direction is already away from the building. So that's okay if your LPS is actually around the same elevation as the corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, should I orient all the text so that it's the same direction? Because like right now, like the numbers I added are like horizontal, but then like the labels are like diagonal. So should I change that so that they're all the same direction?
So there are 2 ways. Normally, you don't change the north being straight up. So basically change it back to, so the plotting, once the final plot will be, north will be directly up and spot elevations are aligned with the bottom of the page. Yes, it will appear that your spots are at a diagonal with your building lines. So another option could be you align exactly like what you did here. As long as all the text are in the same direction, you're good. So we won't say, do not do that at all, aligning the text along with your building boundaries. We acknowledge in this case is actually effective in making the drawing kind of legible. So yes, you could feel free to change the driveway, the garage, the house, the porch, the original labels. You can change its font, you can change its size, change its location. The end goal is to make your drawing legible and organized. Those labels can be changed. They're not set in stone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then sorry, one last question. Is the wood deck and the porch, are those at the same FFE as the house?
You don't have to worry about the wood deck, but you do need to specify the porch elevations. In fact, you would, if your porch is covered, so this is again optional for you to decide. You can say my porch is covered, so my porch is flat. Okay, so that porch could be the same as your house, or it could be a step lower. Okay, and then it could be totally flat. The other way is to say my porch is not covered, or even though it's covered, I want to slope 2% so that it always drains whatever if I want to wash my porch, it will be able to drain away. So you could say I design my porch to be 2% that way. So that means you would need all kinds of spots on top of the on the porch, that one and that one, and these can be the same. This and that one can be the same. This and that one can be the same if you want to design for it to be 2%. And where you put this 133.0, that's very good because that's a necessary one. That indicates the ground elevation, not the elevation on top of the porch. Again, this is a long conversation, which we will talk about later, for details. Not at the step, but I'm glad that you asked. So here, you actually specify the spots on top of the walkway, not on the lawn area. So those two plus signs needs to be moved back to on top of the walkway. Okay, so going back to do a little summarization. Wood deck, ignore it. You don't have to specify anything. The porch, two ways of designing it. You could have a porch FFE, which means your porch is covered and flat. Second option, you could design 2% away from the entrance of the house to make the porch drain, which means you need four spot elevations as I marked on this drawing. And then you need the one that I underlined, your 133.0 as the ground of the porch, not on top of the porch. And all the other spots, they need to be marked on the paved surface. Okay, so for the walkway, you need these two, and for those two as well. And then you have curves, right? And wherever the curve connects to a straight line, the tangent points we need. So for the walkway, you need at least 8. Actually, not at least, exactly 8. 8 spots there. Yeah, this is a little more detailed than we need to know at this point, but I'm glad that you asked. Okay, anything else?
I guess like if I put all those numbers in there, do you recommend that I just make my text smaller to fit them all?
Likely you will need to use leader lines, not necessarily making them smaller. And also, if spots are the same, you could connect them together to just so that you don't have to write it multiple times for the same elevation. But remember to bring it up so next time when we're all together, we could actually show you how to do that in a big screen in the South Forum. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Okay, next I have Haley. It's Haley here. Hey, Haley. Okay, I'm gonna move down to this page. Let's clear everything first. Do I have any chats? Oh, no. Okay, good. So let me try to rotate the page first. Okay. So the slopes of the driveway and the walkway, they don't seem to be correct. They need to be at least 2%, and your driveway would be likely 8, 10, 9, 7, 5, something like that. And where do I connect the center line to and its distance from the building? It's too close to the building right now, the center line. So I'm not sure. Yeah, the plotting needs to be fixed. So Haley, I hope you can go to get cat room after this review to get the plotting fixed first. I'm not sure what line numbers here are. Is this the 0 contour for your base map?
Yes.
If this is a 0 contour, then these spots were not calculated correctly. which could lead to issues. Yeah, I think that 0.06% was the result of this spot, 134.30, not correct. Because this one is 0, that one is 1, that spot it's likely 130.30. Okay, this is probably 130.30. And this one could be, yeah, it's actually 130.05. So yeah, that looks more reasonable. And then with that, you would have a drastically different driveway slope, which is going to be more reasonable. 134.6. What's the length of your driveway? What's the distance?
I think it's 91.4.
This one, 91.4.
Yes.
If it's 91.4, let's say it's 90. And then we would have 75 multiply. Oh, okay. If it's that long, it doesn't seem to be 90. I think it's around 60 something. Can you measure it again in your CAD? Otherwise, you could go up for 7.5 feet high. That's probably off. Do you have your CAD with you?
Yeah, I can measure that again.
Yeah, let me know what's the length of the red arrow here. Yeah. Mhm. Right. So the recommended was actually 10 feet, but I don't think you have room in this exercise for the tree over here. It's going to be tight. So if you can keep 2 to 5 feet away, that would be great. Yeah, but as much as you could. Yeah. Yeah, the other one you won't, as long as you don't change, as long as you don't direct your swell through the tree, you shouldn't yet need to change the contour there. Mhm. It's acceptable in this case. Yeah, yeah, we know that the challenge there. Yeah, it's very close to that property line, and there's just no way that we don't change this contour at all, this one. So it's likely that's necessary. Yes. If this is a more realistic, we would actually advise directing the water, sort of change the swell, and then do this. Yeah, just kind of going around the tree, not directly to the tree. Or if we design for it to be a tree range, that's a different story though. That's for next semester. Yeah. Yeah, how are you doing there, Haley?
I can't quite figure it out.
So my recollection is that would not be 90. If it's 90, it's probably that your building would be like in this area, and then you can go very, very high. So my guess is the 130.3, so your 4.5 foot raise, it's likely in the correct range, but borderline. Okay, it could be just there is a slight possibility with your FFE equals to 134.60, you might be violating the 10% rule, but there's a slight chance, only a slight chance that that's the case. Okay, so you need to measure your driveway length and double check, and then recalculate the 2 spots that I just circled. Recalculate this one and that one, okay, and then verify that re-verify that the slope does not exceed 10% with your FFE equal to 134.60. All right, so that's the first thing that I would recommend that you do. If it exceeds 10%, then you would need to lower the FFE down of your garage. And then the next thing that I would recommend that you do is to change your swell to more like this. As we kind of talked about in other folks' drawing, it's hard to turn direction or change directions constantly for your swell. Water doesn't really always want to flow that way. So, and then the next thing is this corner is the difficult to drain one. So you would want to definitely make sure that slope that I just drew is above 2% from this corner to your swell center line. Okay. And your HPS and LPS would be in this area, could be in that area. It's more flexible on this side. So once you have your FFE here corrected, your center line kind of draft, redraw the center line, and then based on this corner equals to your garage FFE, measure that distance or specify distance, that's okay. You know, if you want to specify 30, 40 feet, that's okay. And then calculate that one. And according to these LPSs, you start doing the tick marks, and then you rough your contours in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right, give that a try. And also, I believe we will have some time at the end. So if you keep working, we can take a look again. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So next I have Krista. Let's see. Doesn't seem that Krista's here. Have you seen her? Okay. Okay. So we're gonna go to, are you here, Myanmar? Not see him. Yeah, I guess we will go to, huh? Okay, so let me clear here. Yeah, this one I have difficulty pronouncing. You have a pretty unique name. Let's see, not this. Okay. This would be Krista's, maybe. That's Myanmar. Elijah? Yeah. Yes. Yes. So, Elijah, I see you here. Are you here? Yeah.
Yep.
You're unmuted. Okay. Good. All right. We received your email. We received your email, so we can go through that. You have option 1. That's the one that you chose, right? Okay, good. So let's take a look at your key elevations here.
I don't think this one is mine.
Okay. What about this one? No? That one?
Yes, this one's mine. The one with
Okay.
the 15-foot radius. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Come on. Let me drag. Okay. So you have a different base valve, okay, rotated. So you have a higher from the side, and then the other side, you have 134.46. Okay, the first thing is we can design the mid driveway to be 10. That will make it steep on the other side. So you'll need to lower it down a tad, not a lot. So this one should be less than 10%.
Okay, less than 10%. I thought the maximum was 10%, which is why I made it
Right.
10. But I could make it like 9 point something.
My question is the midline drive in the driveway 10%? Or did you calculate the 10% for the steeper side?
Let me look at my calculations for that.
Okay, so double check that. The goal is to make this red line, make that line 10%. Okay, in that
Alright.
case, yeah, even if that's the case, you might only need to lower this a tad.
So I did it from the middle, which I just said 130 due to both being, relatively close to that. That
Right.
was just me crunching the numbers.
Yeah, so that's the reason why. Okay, oh, this is if you have 2% away from your garage, then it actually means you can keep your garage FFE, but then this portion will be above 2%.
Okay.
Yeah, to make sure that the steeper side is actually less than 10. That needs to be less than 10.
All right.
Okay, so double check that one. The second thing is that your garage, in fact, because you need to enter those 2 spots right in front of the garage would be the same as your garage FFE, right?
Mhm.
If that's the case, you can't have a 0.5 drop right there, very close to the entry point at the corner, which means these 2 at least, they need to be the same as your garage FFE. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So because you can't have a drop here. Those 2, when you get away from the entrance, you can drop it, that's okay. You can drop it to 134, that's totally fine. Okay, so that's that. Your HPS and your corner seems to be in a good relationship. Again, I would question if that's 2%. You want this to be able to drain. If you designed for this to be 2, I doubt that's 2%. So that means you would need to raise this corner. I don't know, yeah, raise this corner or lower down the HPS or put your HPS here instead. Does that make sense? You have multiple options. You could put your HPS over here and make sure this is 2% because that's the hard to drain corner, okay? Or you can raise the percentage here so the elevation all kind of systematically get raised along the center line, then you still keep this at 2%. But I would, to make sure that we all know that you have calculated it, if that's the way that you chose to go, then you would add a spot there as well. That's not a high point of swell. It's just an extra spot with calculations to support that, yes, I have a 2% slope there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I would actually recommend doing this and changing that to HPS.
So just moving the HP is a little higher up there.
Right.
On the,
Right.
yeah, okay.
And then you could also change the direction of the swell to like this, something like that. Yeah. Okay. So that is that. Your swell, currently they're out there. Slopes looks okay. And the other side looks okay too. And you have your 15 feet radius. Okay. Your 15 feet radius. If you really want to make the 15 feet away from the house very flat and very useful for instance, for the kids, for a garden, for anything, you can definitely do that. But you have to try it out and see if that's a realistic goal to achieve. If not, then you can relax it and make it steeper closer to the house, right? The requirement is for it to be less than 5, actually only for the front. It was only for the front that you need to make it less than 5. The side and the back can all be pretty steep. So you definitely aim for that. If that doesn't work, then you have to pivot your strategy and make it steeper. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your I think you need to crunch a few numbers for the driveway and make sure that your garage FFE works, and then change your HPS. And then I think you're ready to move forward to start dividing your center line. Tick mark your center line. Again, you try to estimate, not get into too detailed in calculations. And then kind of mock up the contour and see where things get tight, and then go from there. I can see a good comprehension of the material here.
Right, awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything that I know you mentioned a specific question in your emails, although I read it twice. Yeah, I kind of blanked out.
Oh, I was just gonna ask if I needed the swale on the wood deck side because that's going downhill like with the house, but
Oh, yeah, you can
because
end
it
here.
curves, I think I do need it.
Yes, you can end it somewhere there instead of trying to go back there. It's okay not to go back there. If you have a pretty picky neighbor, then you would want to do something like this. Again, I'm not drawing very well there, but try to not direct your water to your neighbors. But in this case, we thought it's okay for the purpose of the exercise, just to end your swell here, so we can treat like, oh, maybe there's a park and another swell to direct the water away, something like that, hypothetically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All righty. Okay. Ready to move forward. Yeah, I think we have yours, Jaden. Yeah. Oh, no worries. No worries. We like more materials to comment on. Okay, so we have a black sheet and a white sheet. So we name it project 1. Either way would be fine. And then how much do we offset? Yeah, we talked about that. Front, yeah, front is always where your driveway is, driveway and walkway. And these are the sides, and the wood deck is the backyard. Okay. Yeah, front of the house. Yeah. Is there a reason the driveway doesn't connect? I think, oh, I don't know why. Oh, it should. It actually should connect. You mean this one here, broken? Huh. Yeah, it's probably when they changed or made many base maps, one line got not extended. Did not get extended. Yes, extended. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at the drawing here. Mhm. Oh, yeah, yes, yeah. Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then the driveway needs to be recalculated. Your front slope is getting pretty high, right? You can see the orange line here clustered. Yes, that's not. Right, yeah, the LPS needs to be somewhere here. Okay. Same thing here. Yes, somewhere here. Yes, contours are imaginary lines, so they shouldn't go where elevation matches. Wherever elevation is 133 in this case, it should connect those two spots of 134 or 133 based on your 5% calculation, with 10 feet away from your garage here. Yeah, so you measure 10 feet, and the 15 feet, no, the bound, if you use a dashed line on your drawing, it might seem not as a hard limit where nothing can go in, right? So your 133 contour should be exactly 10 feet away from your garage line there. Is the, not sure if the white box is the 15 feet. No, it shouldn't be. It's not. Okay, that's the 15 feet. Oh, from the house. Oh, it actually that's for the garage as well. So so that one actually should be around somewhere here. Your 15 feet should be around somewhere here. We should use a different color. Yes. That's your 15 feet. And then your 33 contour, because your HPS drops below 133, you actually have a closed contour of 133 around your house. Yes, and that one should be 10 feet away, crossing the 10 feet away line. That's your 133. Yeah, that's that. So 133 should be something like this. Again, I'm not rounding anything yet. I didn't measure anything yet, but it should be a closed contour. And then your next contour would be 132, which you roughed in. Yeah, your next step, I think, would be measure the driveway. Measure the driveway so that you know where exactly 3, 2, and 1, and actually 0 would be. And for this one, you actually have a 129. It doesn't really, yeah, this one was not calculated correctly. It should not be 128.5. It should be 129.5 or something. So this line, this spot is lower. So calculate the driveway so that you know exactly where 3, 2, and 1, and 0 connects, kind of at the edge of the driveway. And then revise the orange lines and try to connect to the correct spots on the driveway. And yeah, that's basically it. Okay, one thing, the same exact thing as others would be trying to make sure this corner drains. Okay, this corner right now, it doesn't seem, if this is 30 feet, then you are okay. If this is longer than 30 feet, you are below 2%. Okay, yeah, so that means you can either pull your center line back like this. I don't want to, I want a line here. So if that's the case, you can pull your center line closer to your building so that this is 30 feet and you still can maintain your 132.90. If that gets too hard to do, then you need to lower your HPS. Oh, lower the number. Yeah, lower the number. Yeah, but that's something that I see as possibly problematic. And the other things doesn't look like it's going to cause problems. Okay. Uh-huh. Yes, so for that one, for this one, we need to extend the line. You extend the whole line until it crosses the curve. Yeah, that intersection point is where you should calculate. Let me try to, again, close this. So once you extend this, that spot is what you need to calculate. And the same thing goes with this side. And you calculate that spot. But how do we calculate that spot? I use this and that to interpolate the middle. Okay? Yeah, that's how you do it. So what we do, this is the lower side, right? You have lower side on that side. Yes, okay. So what we do is I measure 15 feet away. I know that is, let me get this. That gives me only 0.75 foot of elevation difference, 15 multiplied by 5. And then I measure this distance. And that can give me 10%. So if it's 40 feet, for instance, I can raise 4 feet over that 10%, which means the maximum elevation that I can go at this location would be this one, add 4, and then add 0.75. So the maximum elevation that I can raise from this spot is 4.75. Suppose this is about 40 feet. Does that make sense? Yeah. Mm-hmm. The spots here, right? This one, I don't know where that came from. It's probably from previous. If you need to mark their spots, you mark it right here. Mark it right here. And then mark it right here in front of this driveway. Mark it right there. And then this one you could mark either on the driveway or you could mark it on the road. Either way would be fine because they're both kind of pavements. Okay, either way we fine, but make them consistent. I don't know where that thing come from. Oh, okay, I thought. Yeah. Sounds good. Right, but you would have at least 6 spots for your driveway. And then for the walkway, you would need more. That one and this one. Yeah, I failed to move it to the right location, but you get the idea. Yes, yeah, that's where I marked them. Yes, yeah. But you mark it on, you can either mark it on the driveway or the walkway, but the better way is actually to mark it on the walkway where you can clearly see the intersection. Right? If you mark it on the driveway, and then it's really hard to well, it's a little hard to tell what those 2 spots are for. So the goal is to make it easy to for the contractors to read, know exactly, okay, that's where I should connect to my walkway. They should be consistent. They should be consistent. Normally, we would say parallel to the bottom of the page. So the same thing, if you decide that your spots would be parallel to the lines of the boundaries of your building, do it across the board. Make it consistent across the page. Alrighty, cool, good. Okay, I'm gonna take a little break, 5-minute break, but I'll be back until the end of the class for any other questions. If you made progress on your drawing, that is great. You're welcome to bring it up again. Put it in the chat so that we can, I can ask you to share the screen, or whichever way it's easiest for you to share your work, okay? All right, be back in 5. Okay, so we have a question about where the spot elevations should go. And let's see. Okay, recording session. Put it over here. Put it over here. Okay. Now go back to this. So I'm going to mark it up so and record it so everybody here should know. My group, I'll count you on count this on you later on for doing it correctly. Okay. Yeah. And did I unmute? Let's see. Yes, I did. Okay. So where should spots go? I think so. What? Thank you for reminding me. Okay, screen sharing. Recording. Okay, everything is in place. Okay, now let's start from the houses. Yes, you have all the corner. Remember that should be ground elevations and 2 decimals, and the locations are perfect. Okay, what are you missing? One of them is missing. Which one? This one is missing. Still not very good, but not too bad either. Okay, so that one we're missing. And for the corner of the building, ground elevation here, that needs to be specified on the outside. Yes, where I put here. Okay, that's all the buildings. Okay, and for the porch, the ground elevation we talked about, that needs to be outside. Yeah, again, my pen is not accurate enough, but you get the idea. Right. If you want to design the porch to be flat, it needs to have an FFE. If you want to design for it to be sloping away, then you would need one here, one here, one there, and one there. Yeah, again, it's not really accurate, but you get what I'm trying to say. If you want to design for it to be flat, no, sloped away. Yeah, so the porch could be flat, it could be sloping away from your building, right? If you want to say, okay, my porch is covered, but I want to be able to wash my porch often, and I want to be flow away instead of me trying to kind of mop it dry, right? So if you want to design for it to be sloping away anyway, you would need those 4 spots on the porch. So either way, okay, you can't do both because they're conflicting. So now those are all those for the building. The driveway, you have this good, you have that good, and then you need one here because that's one here, and then one there, because that's where your pavement, right, changes shape, right? And then if you have a different slope, you would have one more here where it's 15 feet away, because you have 2 slopes. Then you would need to mark the 15 feet spots there, right? You need both. That one you need, this one you need, that one you need, and this one you need. For the four here at the entrance, and then 15 feet away you need 2, and then at the entrance of the garage 2. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's no. Yes, Yes, you want these two where we said it's you need them for calculations, but you don't need to mark it on the final drawing. Yeah, those two you need to calculate it in order to move forward, but those two you don't have to put them on the final drawing. Okay, so those are all the spots for the driveway. Now you need to move forward to the walkway. You need one here, and then there, and then here. You get what I'm trying to say. All the tangent points. So you would need 8 spots for the walkway. Okay, everybody. Here, there, yeah, not even. There, 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 there. Because there's a curve and all the tangent points will need 1. So those are the 8 spots for the walkway. And that is it. Those are all the spots that you would need. Well, definitely you need HPS and LPS, right? Those are not surprising. And you may see some drawings with one more spot here just to make sure that we know this corner will drain well. I put one more spot here and design for the slope to be 2%, something like that. But that's not, that doesn't have to happen for everybody's drawing. Okay. Mm-hmm. You still need to say porch FFE 135.50. Then you don't need this. You don't need that one. If you have an FFE, you don't need those 4. All those 4 you wouldn't need because it's flat. Yeah. So it's either this or those 4 spots. Okay.
So if we. Never mind.
Okay. Good.